it's not about having a perfection with the data, but I think having high quality of the data is very, very important. And also data is a byproduct from the process. So I think your business processes are not clean, then obviously you always have multi-sets of data. Focusing on cleansing the data, governing the data is absolutely foundational. If you're not going to focus on it, you're going to pay for it later, right? So, but that's absolutely critical.
Welcome to Technovation. I'm your host, Peter High. Our broadcast today comes from our most recent Metis Strategy Digital Symposium. The topic of this conversation is the blueprint for artificial intelligence organizational readiness. And the panelists who we will hear from are Tim Dickson, Chief Digital and Information Officer of Regal Rexnord, and Praveen Jonnala, the Chief Information Officer of CommScope. The gentleman who led the conversation was Metis Strategy Partner and Central Office Lead, Michael Bertha. I hope you'll enjoy.
How do you ensure that your organization is ready to absorb and exploit the rapidly changing landscape of AI, and to acknowledge the reality that people and organizational readiness could ultimately be the limiting factor to how fast you consume AI innovation? We've assembled a panel of digital and technology executives to speak to their blueprints to make their organizations ready for AI. Our first panelist that we'll welcome is Praveen Jonnala. He is the SVP and Chief Information Officer at CommScope, the approximately $6 billion American designer and manufacturer of network infrastructure products that's headquartered in Hickory, North Carolina. Prior to CommScope, he held senior digital and technology leadership roles at Ford, Mazda, and Sun Microsystems. Welcome, Praveen. It's great to see you.
Hey, thanks, Mike.
And our second panelist is Tim Dickson. For those of you that don't know Tim already, he's the Chief Information and Digital Officer at Regal Rexnord, the manufacturer of electric motors and power transmission components with revenues of approximately $6 billion, headquartered in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Prior to joining Regal Rexnord, Tim was the Chief Information Officer at Generac Power Systems. He's also held digital and technology leadership roles at Dell, Motorola, HP, PayPal, among others, and he is also our resident expert on all things Milwaukee. Welcome, Tim.
Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it. Good close friends of Metis Strategy, customers, and good to see Peter and Stephen as well.
Well, great. Thanks, Tim. Great to have you. Praveen, I'm going to kick it off with you. You've often talked about the 80-20 principle when it comes to internal readiness for AI. I was thinking maybe you could kick us off by sharing some of that philosophy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, first of all, it's great to be here with you and Tim, and I heard some of the other panels, fantastic discussion. I know before I jump into the 80-20, I think, AI, we've been using AI for a long time, right? I mean, it's not that Gen AI kind of drove a lot of the excitement. We've been, using AI and creating some predictive models. Different industries used it, but where we are today, I call it as like there is a hype, hope, promise, and reality. And then as tech leaders and tech teams, we got to step back and think about not only we chase the technology, but how could we bring the organization into a state where all the stakeholders can come with us and then make this initiative successful. So when I say 80-20, my aspect or philosophy is 80% of the time, I think you got to focus on your organization, your stakeholders, whether it's your employees, your customers, your suppliers, and try to understand, how could we make that cultural shift so that they understand, how to embrace it and how to take part in it. Because this is not just an IT initiative where you could drive and take everybody along with you. I think it's kind of other way around. I think you need the business to be in a place where they understand it, embrace it, and then you as a technology leader provide the guidance and the technology in a right way to take them with you. So I think that's what I meant is 80% of the time spent on your organizational readiness, your data readiness, your change management, and your skill sets, how you want to upskill people across the company, and also how can you align with your business and your customers. So I think spending time ahead of the time and making sure that all of them can embrace it, I think it's very important. It doesn't mean that you have to stop tinkering with some initiatives, whether you work on some co-pilots, whether you work on some LLMs, you got to do those proof of concepts and try to show the business and your employees, what the success looks like. But I think in my view, that's a 20% of the technology. What we kind of look at is, in my view, that is important. But I think the 80% of spending time on organizational change management and culture, I think that is even utmost important.
Right. And the implication there, if I might, is that a lot of the companies, those on this call, are not the companies creating the technologies that you will ultimately adapt. So working and spending that 80% of time on the organizational readiness gets you ready to consume, adapt, exploit that next innovation. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Tim and I think we're kind of manufacturing companies, right? We're not the Microsofts or Googles to sit and create LLMs. And our goal is, how can we make our business more productive? How could we drive the product and speed to market? And how could we bring the efficiencies in the business? So I think then that means that you got to be centered this around the business and the opportunities and the business goals. And then you go partner with somebody, and then, with whoever the partner is, but, bring the technology. And we're not here to sit and write our own LLMs. We may take something and expand it, enhance it, but it's not our best interest to create the technology just for the sake of it.
Thank you, Praveen. Yeah, and just speaking, to the tendency of most organizations to avoid that build motion, and mostly it's a buy and modify motion. So I like your point on the 80% focusing on organizational readiness. And one of the topics we've heard about surrounding organizational readiness is creating your AI playbook. And Tim, when we have talked in the past, you've mentioned the AI playbook at Regal Rexnord. I was wondering if you could share a little bit about that playbook and the role it plays at Regal Rexnord in driving AI forward.
Yeah, you bet. So let me give a little bit of context about the company first.
Sure.
A 60-year-old manufacturing company headquartered here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 30,000 employees, $6 billion in revenue. Never an AI model built before I joined 7 months ago. Never a data scientist hired. And so never an IT AI model deployed or retrained. And so, with that sort of history, it's really starting from scratch in terms of building a digital organization and going nuts with AI and building an AI journey. And so I needed like the total package of information, education, alignment, models, frameworks, metrics, etc., that I could bring to the table and not only educate my team and get them trained on AI and how a digital technology like AI can help the business grow. But I also had to educate the business in terms of how this thing was going to work. And so going back to my old M&A integration days, what did M&A folks do? They built an M&A playbook when they were going to acquire a company. And I kind of built that analogy similar to building the AI journey here. So we set out to build an AI playbook. That's a combination of AI education, links to videos and things of that nature, self-paced training courses from vendor partners to get certified in various different tools and platforms. What are the infrastructure and platform requirements to build basic AI models? What's the life cycle and process of scoping, bringing data to bear, building the model, deploying the model, retraining the model? What's the maintenance aspects? How do you monitor this stuff? And ultimately, how do you, define the KPIs and show the business that you're improving on that business value goal? And so every single AI project that we kick off, we sort of lead off with this AI playbook. This is something that I've shared and presented to the ELT and the board recently, so that they have a foundational understanding in terms of how we're approaching it. And it's just an overall sort of good foundational and landing point for starting a project like AI, which could be complex, could be political, could be sort of debating in terms of the value that it's going to provide. It just kind of gets everybody on the same page, aligned on the same goals and aligned with the same process and tools along the way. It's a racy. So who does what, which could be confusing now with the business. And for me, it's just a really good education and awareness tool to not only show that IT can do more for the business, but collaborate with the business on something as awesome as AI.
Great. Thanks for that, Tim. I think seeing a lot of organizations develop a similar playbook, so definitely endorse that practice. And if we could go ahead and take a moment here, we'll bring up the results of the last poll question. who leads AI strategy and execution at your organization? So overwhelmingly, either multiple C-level executives, perhaps that's a two-in-the-box model with business and someone from technology, but then 37% as the close follower with the chief information officer. I love the comment earlier around we move beyond having the chief information or chief technology officer being the only one responsibility to knowing, to everyone taking accountability for owning that to have more productive conversations. And with 42% looking like we could be very well moving in that direction. So coming back to the panel, Tim, you mentioned having some training coming from external vendors or them playing a role in the external vendors. And that made me think of ecosystems and external partners in general. And so I wondered, Praveen, if you could jump in and talk about the role that external partners play in your ecosystem for organizational readiness, both within IT and then maybe how they help you with your peers that may be in business units or functions to help your organization along on the journey.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, as I said, right, in the past, when we look at AI, we created some models, whether they're revenue prediction or some of the spend prediction models, those were created internally using, technology, RStat and some other technology. But now with the Gen AI, with the compute power and also the fast-paced technology throughput coming out from the partners, we realized that we got to go and partner with some of the vendors like Microsoft and others, and not only just partnering with them to bring in their technology into the company, but really the step one is, as kind of Tim alluded to, the playbook. We always starts with the business, right? What is a business use case and what the problem we're trying to solve? Otherwise, you could pick hundreds of use cases. It could be overwhelming for IT. So I think start with the business. And then when you start with the business, it's very important to say, who is the business champion who could really, talk about the problem, right? Then, we could go and with the partner, and how could we co-create or enhance the existing model to fit an industry? For example, if you take a manufacturing, we have, 40 plus manufacturing locations globally. And if you go look at any shop floor, right, there is a huge issue with the maintenance and there's a tribal knowledge about the machines. It's the same problem, right? Everybody trying to solve. So can we partner with somebody and say, hey, why can't we bring your co-pilot, but then tweak it and apply it to the knowledge base of a certain machine, certain PLCs, and how could we bring that to bear in the shop floor? So that way you're bringing not only a partner but a business and centered around a business problem that could create a lot of excitement. So I think that's what the model we're trying to apply is in different areas, and same thing in the customer service. In the earlier panel, they're talking about how could you use the knowledge base in starting with IT help desk. That's what we did. We used to use a third-party solution, and then we looked at some of the LLMs in Microsoft. We partnered with them, and we built our own agent to feed all our IT knowledge base. And then how could we put that in front of our employees to more like a self-service? Right now, you take that framework and expand it to HR and expand it to customer service. So I think starting with the business problem, partner with a partner who you think makes sense from a technology perspective, and then keep the business at the center, and then drive the outcome.
Right. I think that cross-functional approach, very similar to having a product mindset in an organization to bring the BU functional technology digital resources together. And I think the new entrant to that equation is having AI engineers, AI product owners involved in that same cross-functional team, and having them from the beginning looking at the problem, working through everything, including working with partners, not just taking AI and putting on top of a broken process. So I love that cross-functional approach to that. And that knowing that AI, as many have said throughout this panel today in several conversations, that it's going to be a long journey for AI, but it's important too, with like any new technology, to get some quick wins on the board to possibly build momentum. And Tim, I'm wondering if you could share some of the ways many of which I've read about, are some of the ways you've captured quick wins in your organization.
Yeah, you bet. A couple different ways. And once again, the context is starting off with a company that hadn't done these types of things before. So not only getting quick wins would be an accomplishment from a technology and delivery perspective, but also from a culture, and leadership perspective as well. The first thing that I'll share, and I would admit that I stole this from a former coach and mentor and boss of mine, Greg Myers, who was on this call earlier today. But we use hackathons to basically leverage a combination of bringing vendor partners in who are trying to promote emerging technologies in this space, willing to upskill your team, and willing to collaborate with business partners on solving business problems or creating a new product or service that could generate value for the business. And so these are internal events, but we invite external vendor partners to do the upskilling and the sponsoring and the training to create wonderful prototypes that show the business where this technology can go. The second thing that we do is we leverage best-in-class tools, not trying to promote Databricks at all, but Databricks is something that we leverage here at Regal Rexnord. And one of the things that is hugely important for us with Databricks is that given that it's been around for 8 to 10 years, it has out-of-the-box AI models, machine learning models that have been used before in industry, have been used before in manufacturing. And so the learning curve for someone inside the company to come up to speed and build a model from scratch just really wasn't needed in this particular case. And so leveraging out-of-the-box models that have built and delivered value for other companies in manufacturing for something like cross-sell, upsell, demand forecasting, line scheduling. These are common predictive models that have been solved before in industry that we leverage to sort of speed up the learning curve. And then last thing I'll say is AI and generative AI is all completely dependent on how good and clean and consolidated your data set is. And that is a struggle for a lot of companies, including ours. And so you have to start with what you have right now and scale and grow from there. As an example, 2 weeks ago, we launched our first generative AI chatbot that's externally customer facing on our regalrexnord.com website. We call it Rexy, if you're interested in that. And with all of the various different data components that we could have integrated into Rexy, we decided to basically start from what we had available, which was the main website and all of the links and the product detail pages and the e-commerce pages that are part of the existing website. So just hooking up the chatbot to something that we know was already there, was already cleaned, was already being stewarded and maintained, we felt pretty comfortable that the inquiries or the prompts from our customers, whether they're existing customers or new customers, would be answered very accurately. And the data shows that that is definitely the case. And so it all comes down to data. And to start from something like an internet or an intranet page for something like an internal GPT is just an easy way to kind of get started, get learning about the tool, get learning about the process, get learning about what it can do for your business.
That's great. I mean, and so everything on the e-commerce site, for example, has already been approved. It's already gone through the process of approving and saying this could be self-discovered by a customer, and we're proving that. Why not hook that into the model? Because it eliminates a lot of risk of hallucinations or something that you wouldn't want moving out there. Although I'm sure there could be hallucinations at some point.
Mike, I couldn't agree more on the data side, what Tim said, right? I think it's not about having a perfection with the data, but I think having high quality of the data is very, very important. This is the thing people overlook for the most part, but I think also data is a byproduct from the process. So I think your business processes are not clean. Then obviously you always have multi sets of data. Focusing on cleansing the data, governing the data is absolutely foundational. If you're not going to focus on it, you're going to pay for it later, right? So, but that's absolutely critical.
Let's just say that the incentive for a business partner or even someone in IT to cleanse data that they know is now going to be made available for a chatbot externally customer facing. Now, I wouldn't say that there was not incentive to do that before, but I think the fact that it can be made more, it can have more of an impact from a customer experience perspective now, more so than ever, is just added incentive and added structure to make it happen.
Definitely a thread coming through almost every panel, the data quality and the need to invest early in that data foundation. And the other thread is that AI is changing so fast. And despite that speed, you've talked about, Praveen, the importance of patience. Even though things are moving so fast. So what role does patience play in preparing your organization to take advantage of AI?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think as we talked about it, there's a lot of excitement, right? Sometimes there's a lot of excitement. People think, this is a magic pill you can take. You could grow your revenue by 2x and improve efficiency by 3x. And they look at the CIOs, CTOs to think, hey, when can I take that magic pill, right? That's the thing, and everybody's looking for that quick, fast pace, results. But I think it's very, very important, we as a tech leaders to step back and work with, your C-suite and your board to make sure that everybody understands this is a journey we need to take. And we're in a very early stage, in my view, right? With all this, very, very early stage, you could quickly, try to burn a lot of time and money. But, key is how could you help the business to understand the priorities? And then you go pick some use cases. As I said earlier, you take them with you to the proof of concept or working with a partner, try to showcase and realize a value and make them think, what other opportunities may exist which can improve or create that most value from a business goal standpoint. I think that's very important. But then you kind of walk with them and show them. And sometimes you got to take them to your partners, right? In our case, we took our business, to Microsoft, EBC, and then for a full day, right, with our engineering or software development team, our manufacturing team, and we talked about some of these co-pilots. People talk about they're not even ready, right? So that's why sometimes you got to bring them to the state where they realize that this is going to take off for sure. But in the meantime, how could we get ready? How could we understand our business opportunities? How could we cleanse our data? And in the meantime, try, with some opportunities, put some chatbots, agents, try some proof of concepts. So you kind of bring it all in together. And then when things materialize, you take off, right? So patience is absolutely important.
Excellent. Thanks, Praveen. And so many of the panelists today have really talked about investing in having the right skills in your organization, and what the right skills are continuously is evolving as a result of the pace of change we've characterized. But making sure that you have those skills to absorb the technology innovations as they're happening in the market. Tim, I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about some of the things you're doing in your organization, and then Praveen, anything additionally that you'd want to add following Tim's response. But how are you making your organizations ready?
Absolutely. So I'm just a firm believer of coaching and mentoring and investing in team members that you already have. Ahead of hiring on the outside, we all know how hard it is to attract talent and hire talent, and time consuming it is to hire talent on the outside. So we leverage a combination of what I would refer to as vendor sponsored or vendor hosted lunch and learns, where a vendor partner will come in, take your pick of partners. They'll come in, you'll get to gather your internal team together, you'll have lunch, they'll do some sort of presentation, some sort of demo. There's typically some sort of Q&A, some sort of discussion. And then usually what we do is follow that up afterwards in a couple of weeks with one team member who got interested and excited enough about that lunch and learn, where they were either able to get trained or certified in that time frame, and then are able to sort of present an internal use case or an internal demo or an internal prototype or an internal POC based on that lunch and learn just a couple of weeks ago. We referred to that session as a digital lunchable. That's someone who's stepped up, showed up, taken self-paced initiative and learned and got trained and certified on a tool that we could potentially use inside the company. The second thing is, for any one of those vendor partners that come out and host lunch and learns, we add a free self-paced training link to a brand new digital upskilling portal that we launched inside the company on the corporate intranet site. We've got about 10 vendor partners self-paced training links that anyone in the organization, in fact, anyone in the company, if they're interested, can go out and on their own time, take fundamentals classes, take advanced classes in any one of the tools that I mentioned earlier, and actually get certified. Post your certification like people love to do when they get a certification. And as an example of that upskilling portal, we've got 30 people in the organization now in just 7 months being here who've been trained on AI and Gen AI fundamentals from Databricks. We've got over 20 UiPath RPA certified team members and associates as a result of that self-paced training. And we have over 100 team members that have taken the Microsoft Copilot training and are now certified in Copilot. And whether people move into those roles or not, to have that many skilled people in your organization now who weren't skilled before, that at a minimum could help in generate or kick off one of these programs, let alone lead and deliver one on the behalf of the organization. It's just a wonderful way to sort of exhibit that the team is growing not only in their careers but also in their technical skill set.
Great. Thanks, Tim. Very practical approach, taking advantage of relationships you already have in place, taking the outcomes of those and making them available to the organization. And Praveen, anything you'd add before we wrap up?
Yeah, no, just one thing, I fully agree with Tim. I think, one of the important aspects of this is not only, it's very hard to hire from outside, but also the AI or Gen AI, it's kind of surrounded with data and the business process. And people who internally know the business better, they're the people you train on this, and then they could bring the best outcome to you, right? Because that's what it is. And the second is, and also for you to understand the risk side of this entire Gen AI or AI aspect of it, you have better equipped with your internal employees who understand, again, your business, your regulatory challenges, your security concerns, so that when you bring the technology and upskill them, they are the ones who could highlight and expose those so that you proactively could address those things. So yeah, complete upskilling is very, very important.
Well, that's great. Praveen and Tim, thank you so much for a great conversation. Your insights were excellent and helpful to the audience. Thank you again.